Nissan Leaf drivers have managed to get themselves a bit of a reputation for being rather angry. Perhaps the stress of having an early car like the one that I helped a friend buy last year, hardly any range, gets to you after a while. I'm not sure. The latest source of frustration for them has been with GRIDSERVE's Electric Highway over the availability of CHAdeMO connectors on their new rapid chargers. And GRIDSERVE have responded. As you'll no doubt know by now, GRIDSERVE have bought 100% of Electric Highway from founders Ecotricity and now control EV charging at every motorway service area in the country. They've started the mammoth task of replacing every old, flaky charger at every services across the country, and they're making great progress with it. Today's source of angry Leaf driver frustration, though, is that they seem to actually be reducing the number of CHAdeMO connectors that are available. When you once had, say, 2 units that both had CHAdeMO, one would have CHAdeMO and AC, one would have CHAdeMO and CCS, you'll find now you have dual CCS on one and CHAdeMO and CCS on the other. The new units they're fitting are actually capable of charging 2 DC cars at a time. Capable, but it's not necessarily actually actively working at the moment. But it seems there's some technical challenges with that the GRIDSERVE are working through, and hopefully there'll be an update on that fairly shortly. But it's a net reduction then in the number of CHAdeMO connectors that are available. And many people are saying, well, CHAdeMO's like the Betamax of EV charging anyway, you know, and it will phase out. And to some extent they're correct, aren't they? Only the Leaf, the Outlander, and the Lexus UX300E, which is a lot newer model than the other two, use it as their only source of DC charging. You can get CHAdeMO in the electric black cab, but as an optional extra as well as CCS. So you'd actually have both, which is pretty cool, I guess, and it's pretty forward thinking. But even staunch CHAdeMO loyalists, Nissan, have admitted defeat on it and said the Ariya, their new next generation EV that's coming shortly, will use CCS for charging and they won't have CHAdeMO in the European market. They've admitted that CCS is the go-to EU standard and they're going to provide a car with it. But not so good for all those Leafs on the road at the moment, is it? Queuing at motorway services to use the one CHAdeMO connector that's available. A little bit of sweet irony there, of course, given that they've been extremely smug, certain Leaf drivers, about CHAdeMO being much more reliable on the old Ecotricity chargers than CCS, often managing to charge where CCS drivers can't. GRIDSERVE have taken notice of the angry tweets and that have been coming their way though, and they've issued a response, so let's take a look. There's a link in the description to the article if you'd rather read it yourself. Torrington Harper, CEO of GRIDSERVE, issued the following statement. In an ideal world, there would be a single connecting type for charging all types of electric vehicle, or car manufacturers would provide their customers with adapters to use all of the main charger connectors. But as of today, we are quite some way away from that. As a result, GRIDSERVE have made a commitment to provide all of the main charging connectors, CCS, CHAdeMO and AC, in every location. However, this commitment then creates a challenge for us in forecasting what percentage of each charger type is needed, both today and in the near future. This isn't as straightforward as one might expect with the replacement of the old Ecotricity chargers, as until we add more high-power chargers, which typically require new grid connections, we presently only have a limited number of chargers and the existing power supplies that are there to serve a variety of charging needs. We're making the very best of what's available by using chargers that have the capability of charging 2 cars at the same time, and we'll be activating dual charging as soon as possible, and there's going to be an update on that very shortly. It's now clear that in the future CCS is going to be the principal standard for DC charging, at least in the UK. However, as of today, CHAdeMO is still very important, albeit with a lower market share, and given all the new EVs coming to market with CCS only DC charging, this market share will continue to reduce over time. We've analysed our data on charging sessions and we're currently receiving 75% of charging sessions for CCS connectors and 25% for CHAdeMO. Fortunately, this precisely matches our thinking behind the DC charger connector configuration we've chosen for Electric Highway, where we have 2 chargers on a site. So we've installed 2 dual chargers, one with CHAdeMO and CCS, and one with 2 CCS, and that would be 25% CHAdeMO, 75% CCS. However, there are busier sites that have 3 dual charger configurations, and to date we currently have 1 CHAdeMO and 5 CCS. So a ratio of 1 to 6 for CHAdeMO versus CCS, that'd be 17%. Obviously that falls short of the 25%, which tells us that we're not serving our customer needs well for these sites yet. This is also reflected in some of the feedback that we've received, some of those angry tweets. We've listened and corrected this, and all future 3 charger sites will have 2 CHAdeMO and 4 CCS, a ratio of 2 to 6, 33%. And this is clearly higher than the 25% of sessions that we're seeing for CHAdeMO, and we believe this will resolve the issue and dramatically improve our customer experience for CHAdeMO on these sites. We're also going to be swapping out chargers on the 3 charger sites that we've already installed, maintain this ratio and consistency across all the sites. We will do this when we receive the next batches of chargers that also have integrated AC sockets. Well, that's good news for Zoe drivers, isn't it? And this will also resolve that at the same time. We'll anticipate this will be all done within the next 2 months, as soon as we receive the new batches of chargers. We're currently experiencing all sorts of supply chain issues with the delivery of these chargers, caused by recovery from the global pandemic, as well as some customs issues that are creating additional delays. But we will continue to push to get all this over the line as soon as possible. This also isn't the end of the story for new CHAdeMO connectors across our network. The replacement of the Ecotricity chargers is only the beginning, and wherever possible, we're seeking to add a further 6 to 12 high-power chargers per location. So just like in Rugby, I guess. At the new Rugby MSA site, which is the first high-power charger location we've upgraded, we've added 12 high-power chargers, 6 of which have CHAdeMO and CCS. And whilst this is great news for CHAdeMO charging at this site, our data is showing that we have likely over-provisioned CHAdeMO at this location, so we won't get the utilisation to justify so many of these connector types on future high-power sites. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? So you have 50% there, and they're saying 25 is the sweet spot. We will continue to listen to feedback, data, and optimise over time to ensure we deliver drivers of all types of electric vehicles the best possible charging experience. That's our goal. Finally, repeating the comment at the beginning of this post, vehicle manufacturers and other innovative companies could also really help us navigate this issue by creating adapters. As CCS is set to become the standard for DC charging, it would be really helpful if manufacturers of vehicles that use CHAdeMO chargers could also provide CCS adapters. Such adapters would also provide drivers with CHAdeMO charging an advantage over CCS, as they could use all of the charging connectors that are available, whereas CCS vehicles would be restricted to only CCS. It's just a thought that we're hoping interested parties might want to run with. We hope that this explanation helps people to understand that we care a great deal about customers being able to charge all types of vehicles on our network with a fantastic customer experience, irrespective of the charging connector, and that CHAdeMO is super important to us. As we've outlined, it's not entirely straightforward to get this right, but we certainly intend to, and we'll keep working on it until we get there, and as quickly as possible. So that's a fair response, I think. They've taken notice of customer feedback and their own monitoring, their own data from network utilisation, and they're going to adjust their rollout plans. It's pretty good stuff, isn't it? I think we would have got that from the previous owners of Electric Highway. Let me know what you think. Now, I'm sure some people will still not consider this to be good enough, and they'll still think they're going to be queuing up in services, and they're going to rant and rave and moan about it. But then some people are never happy, are they? Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you a Leaf driver that's now worried about CHAdeMO provision? Has this response from GRIDSERVE helped a little bit? Do you feel a little bit better about it now? Are you a CCS driver that thinks, well, he should just suck it up? Get on with it, because we've had to deal with Electric Highway being crap for ages and not being able to charge on CCS. Let me know. Let's have a discussion. I'm very keen to hear what's going to happen with dual DC charging on GRIDSERVE Electric Highway as well, and I'm hoping their announcement of that's going to come shortly, and I'll bring an update to you as soon as possible. The whole adapter thing is quite interesting too, isn't it? Could we have a CHAdeMO to CCS adapter? I know that Muxan have talked about an actual conversion for the Leaf, where you would permanently convert it to CCS, and that's something they're working on, and a lot of people are hoping they're going to see that soon. But an adapter would make things really easy, wouldn't it? You know, I know that Tesla are a big fan of that. That you can have adapters to add CCS to cars that didn't have CCS when they were new. And I think there's a similar for CHAdeMO for some of their older cars too. So maybe conversion between CHAdeMO and CCS with the right equipment would be possible. Maybe it'd be prohibitively expensive, I don't know, but it certainly would be a good approach for future-proofing, wouldn't it? If we're going to get to the point where you have more and more networks like, say, Ionity, where you only have CCS, and CHAdeMO, so that does die down a little bit, so even if Electric Highway are going to increase their CHAdeMO provision, there is a good possibility that other networks won't. Maybe adapters are the way to go. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.